All right. Greetings wherever you're watching this video from. This is GBP USD. It's your boy Big Des. All right. GBP USD. Since we took our last 2 weeks lows, non price has given us a break of structure above this high, which happened to be the high that sponsored the liquidity sweep over here. Okay. Now we want to see price come as low as this, taking everything out. Okay. Taking everything out. Sorry. Taking everything out and then giving us a reason to buy. All right. So this is what I'll be looking for now, while still having in mind that this is also, as said, a very significant area. Okay, because now there's a low being formed. All right, I want to see liquidity take it out. Once liquidity, I'm sorry, is taken. All right, I want to see liquidity being taken. This low, actually, once this low is taken, I'll expect a high above this point. All right, so once a new high has been formed after this low is swept, I'll be using this as my structural liquidity. All right, and then getting it. Actually, it's going to be an engineered liquidity. All right, it's going to be an engineered liquidity because once this happens, there'll be folks, there'll be folks very interested in buying from, let's say this candle, actually, or any other block at all they find. So once markets walk through this and then break this high, there'll be folks looking for a sweep. I'm sorry, a mitigation and then a continuation. Okay, why we use this whole thing, their stops as uh, liquidity. So this is kind of an engineer liquidity. Price will lure early traders into getting in, and then once they do, their stops will be triggered. Once their stops are triggered, we actually have our limits triggered as well, and then we join the main move. So this is what I'll be looking out for on GBP USD. All right. So if this fails, then I'll be moving on to the second one, to the previous setup. All right. So this is it. Thank you for watching, and I'll keep you posted. Okay. So I've had the sweep over here. Okay. As expected, I've had liquidity being taken over here. These lows, which happen to be Monday's lows. All right. I've had it taken, but then unfortunately, price couldn't give us the body break we expected. Okay. Instead of price giving me a body break, right? A body break, then maybe I'll use this low as my engineer liquidity for the buys. Price couldn't break above this high. Instead, it was wicked. So in that case, I would consider this area not significant enough. This setup not valid. All right. So what I'll be looking out for is either another push. All right. Once this push happens, maybe I'll use this low. I'll still use this low as my engineer liquidity and then get in. All right. If that doesn't happen, I would like to see this setup failing. All right. This one failing, which means price coming as low as this point. All right. Taking everything out and then giving us a confirmation to, join the buys. All right. So now I'll wait. I'll wait to see what's going to happen. Okay. I'll wait to see what's going to happen. I want to see this happen. Okay, a break above this highs, a break above Monday's, sorry, Tuesday's highs. Okay, once that happens, I'll be using Tuesday's lows as my engineer liquidity. Okay, so I'll be putting my buy entry here. All right, stops below target 3 hour. That's it. Okay, this is what I'll be doing if price gives me a body break about this. Okay, so I'll be using this low as my engineer liquidity. Okay, if that does not happen, then I'll move on to this. I'll expect this whole thing, this whole area to be raided. All right, and then a confirmation to join the buys. I'll use this low. That's if price gives me this, I'll be using that low as my liquidity to join the buys. So this is it. All right, this is pretty much what I'll be doing on GBP USD if price gives me what I'm looking for. Okay, so I'll keep you posted. All right, thanks for watching. Okay, from the current price action, all right, based on the current price action, everything that um, that's happening right here, all right, today, everything that's happening right now is giving us a hint that this law is going to fail, all right, that price is likely going to walk through this before giving us a buy continuation. All right, that's if market doesn't intend to reverse on us. Okay, if our bullish bias is still intact, we are most likely going to take out these lows. All right, before market gives us the continuation. Okay, so you wait to see what's gonna happen, and then you do what you want to do. Okay, for now we do nothing. Thank you for watching. I'll keep you posted. All right, this is Thursday morning, 28th of August, all right, 2025. And GBP USD, as anticipated yesterday, as the plan was made, GBP USD has presented exactly what our plan was. Okay, that is a sweep and then a break. Okay, now we've had this. What do we do? All right, now that we've had a sweep of liquidity and then a break of structure above this, which happens to be Wednesday's highs, all right, closing above Tuesday's highs. Okay, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to use Wednesday's lows as my engineer liquidity. Why is that? Because since price has taken out liquidity over here and that there is a break of structure above this highs, this area, all right, most traders are going to be interested in buying from this area. It's very likely that early traders would like to do what? Join in from here, all right, which means putting their stops below this low right here, all right, and their target, wherever. But it's their stops we are actually after, all right. It's not a target. So since early traders are going to be putting their stops below this area, okay, below Wednesday's lows, I'm going to be putting my limit below that area. Okay, my limit, sorry, my entry point is going to be exactly um at Wednesday's lows, all right. So this is what I mean. We had a sweep here and then a break, and then while market was coming, give us another sweep and then another break. Okay, this indicates a bullish reversal, all right. And this sweep over here makes this low protected. Not only the sweep, but the fact that there has been an engineered liquidity around this area, okay, it makes this low protected. If it wasn't for this whole leg, all right, price would have, just walked through this before giving us the buy reversal, all right. So it's just the same thing, all right. It's just the same thing. You could see that there was a sweep here, there was a sweep here. Price took out these lows and then this buys. But since there was no structural liquidity around here, market came as low as this, taking out this low, all right, taking out the low that was presumed to be protected. So in that case, I would say that if the same thing has happened here, then it's very likely that market would also do what? Take out these lows, all right, before continuing. All right. So now I think everything is set. I have my setup valid. All right. I have my setup validated now. All I want to do is just do what? Execute. All right. All I want to do is just execute. So this is pretty much it. The sweep. All right. The sweep. A break above the high that swept liquidity, and then an engineered liquidity around this area. Okay. Um, this flip zone. Okay, this zone right here. Let me hide this. This zone below my setup makes my setup kind of, you know low probability. All right, but then I'm still going to take it because my system says I should. All right, I'm not going to listen to what's likely to happen, or I'm not going to pay attention to what could happen anymore. I'm just going to go ahead and execute this trade, but with a lower risk, because you can't abandon a setup because um, there is something that could happen. All right, we don't know what's going to happen, but if my system says I should, I would. All right. So having this in mind, I'm going to execute this my setup with um, a lower risk. All right, I'm going to be risking lower, but then I'll be executing it though. So this is it. This is pretty much it. Thank you for watching. Now I'll keep you posted. All right. This is the end of the week, right? And I'm here to do my end of week review. Okay. So basically, GBP USD. I actually expected price to, since there has been liquidity taking over here. All right. Since liquidity took up, was taking over here, and then there was a break above this, indicating the buy reversal. I expected price to do what? Retrace into this and then take this whole leg out, all right, before giving us the reversal we needed. Okay, but instead, price gave us engineered liquidity, which is this: a sweep, a break, all right, and then this low being engineered liquidity, all right. So as I said, let's go to the 1 hour time frame. As I said, right, this low being an engineered liquidity would make early buyers, all right, interested in buying from here, this area. Okay, that's what I said. That price would, there would be traders interested in taking their buys from here, all right, thinking this low is protected because liquidity has been taken, and then there's been a break of structure. Okay, and every break of structure is a sign of what continuation. Okay, so they would like to do what, buy from here, maybe target wherever they want to target. That's not my problem. Um, and once that happens, okay, market will definitely give us a reaction, which is what happened here. Okay, a reaction. All right. So even if you had gotten in earlier, all right, you still have a couple hour. Let's say 1 hour, or yeah, roughly 1 hour, 1.7 hour, right, almost 2 hour. Okay, that's if your entry was precise enough. All right, but after this, if market doesn't have any intention for this low, then maybe you keep going higher. All right, but if market has an intention for this low, price wouldn't take out this. Right, this high would not be taken out. This high is not going to be taken out if market has an intention for this low, which means you could instead just take it all out before actually buying. All right, so with that being said, I place my this is what I did. Okay, my entry here, targeting 3 hour, stops below this low, which happened to be our protected low. Why is that? Because this is a swing structure on its own. From this low to this high is a swing structure on its own. Okay, and in every swing structure there has to be a structural liquidity. Okay, something that actually makes sense, something that's obvious. All right, that other traders are going to be interested in using, which happen to be this area, as I said. Okay, so while other traders will be putting their stops below this, I'll be putting my entry there. Okay, kind of like the big players type of thing. I'm not a big player though, just following blueprint. All right, and this is it. This is pretty much it, and this is what market did. Okay, we had this push, and now we closed. Okay, so maybe next week we expect price to do what, come into our entry, right, and then mitigate and take us up there. All right, within this whole leg. All right, this within this whole leg is where I'm taking my trade. Okay, so for there to be um, an assurance that price is going to go for this high, okay, this high has to do what, be broken. Okay, once price takes out this high, I'll be interested in targeting this, but for now I'm only interested in targeting this high. Okay, which is why my target is within it, because we are definitely going to do what, hit it. That's whether before or after our entry is our trade is what, triggered. Okay, so what am I expecting actually? On a weekly time frame, you could see that price is quite bullish. All right, you could see the price is quite bullish. And with that being said, all we are going to be expecting is just buys. But how do we do before we buy? You don't just have to buy. All right, there has to be a reason for the buys, which is why I indicated, all right, I said that price is most likely to take this low out. but then it failed. All right, instead there was an equal low formed. Okay, there was an equal low formed. Why did I say price was gonna come for this? Why am I seeing this area as vulnerable? Okay, because this high wasn't broken, it was wicked. And when a point is wicked, okay, let's just say this high being wicked, then there is a low formed. And after the wick, above the wick, there is an actual body break. Okay, it makes this low vulnerable. All right, which means price is definitely going to come for it and then buy upwards. Okay, so this is pretty much it. It's going to be this low and this high. Swing low, swing high, swing low, swing high. So this from this high to this low is just going to be a form of sorry, what do I even use for this liquidity engineering? Okay, so this whole area to me is just price engineering liquidity. All right, which means there are actual buy orders below this. All right, that's how I see it. Okay, that's what I see based on experience. All right, so now that price couldn't take this out, and that we are looking a little more bullish. All right, what do we expect? All right, what do we um, anticipate that price do before we join? Right, the same thing happened here. There was a sweep of this low instead of a body break, and then a high was formed. And after this high, there was an actual body break below this low. That's what made this area vulnerable. All right, and that was why all I think the whole of last 2 weeks or so, I was interested in what price hitting this high before any kind of reversal or continuation happens. And now that this has happened, what do we think? I mean, what do we expect? We expect price to do what? That's if market intends to go higher. We expect price to take this high out. All right, a body break. We expect a body break above this, and after this body break, this low will be a vulnerable low. Okay, so after this body break, we look for a way to get in, targeting these lows. And once these lows are taken as well, we find a way to get in and target these highs. All right, that's pretty much it, which is why this area over here, this swing point, okay, which is why this area doesn't seem much of a significance, and it is, but for now I don't think it's going to be useful. Why do I say so? Because we need price breaking above this high. That's if market intends to go any higher. Okay, we need price breaking above this high, and once that happens, the low that was formed after this high was wicked. Okay, the low that was formed after this wick, okay, is going to be our next vulnerable low, which means we expect price to do what? Take it out before we continue higher. That's when price will have to mitigate this, and after the mitigation, then we get the buy to get in. So what I'm seeing right now is just this. This is what I'm seeing right now. Okay, sorry, I'm seeing this low taken, and then this high broken. So once this high is broken, we find a way to get in. I mean, we look for a reversal. Okay, a way to sell, a reason to sell actually. And once we get in, once we get a sell, this low is going to be our next vulnerable low. Okay, this low is going to be our next vulnerable low. So we get the buy, we get a break of structure. Okay, get a break of structure, and then we look for a way to do what? Join in, sell into this area. Once we get in, then we wait to see what could happen or what happens, because there's a possibility, all right? There's a possibility that price, instead of touching this, all right, and then buying, instead of touching this and buying, there's a possibility of price walking through it. Okay, there's a possibility that price could do walk through it and then mitigate it as use it as another flip zone. Okay, so as a demand to supply flip. Okay, so once you walk through it, you mitigate and then sell off to take out these equal lows over here. Okay, to take out these equal lows. So once price gets here, after this high has been taken, I'll be very, very careful. All right. So this is pretty much what I'll be expecting on GBP USD. All right. I don't know when that's gonna happen, but this is what I'll be expecting. Before that, I'm gonna have an eye. Okay. I'm gonna keep a close eye on this. Okay. Seeing what happens here, and then maybe pay attention and just do what market gives us. I mean, tells us to do. Okay. So for now, thank you for watching. All right. I'll keep you posted. Okay. Thank you for watching. This is my fourth episode, all right, on my weekly recaps. I don't know how long it's going to take. I don't know how long I'm going to do this, but I'll keep doing it for as long as I can, all right? For as long as I can, I'll keep doing this and doing it, okay? Because I'm going to come back to these videos sometime, sometime in the future, and then, just for reference sake, definitely, we all do. So this is pretty much it. Thank you for watching. I'll keep you posted.